Welcome. My name is Dr. David Boswood. I am a serial entrepreneur as well as an entrepreneurship educator. And for the last 15 years, I've been studying businesses and entrepreneurs and how entrepreneurs start businesses and start successful businesses. And of course, success is defined in many ways. So ultimately, this course is putting together some of the best practice that we've found about starting a business and hopefully enabling you to start a high growth business, a business that's going to grow and keep you successful and wealthy for the rest of your life. So this is all about setting the scene, this presentation, and it's the first of 9 presentations that we're going to have, and within each of those presentations we'll provide you with some workbooks and activities to follow, but ultimately everything is contained in what we provide you. So in this session we're going to look at 5 things. The first is about understanding an SME. An SME is a small to medium-sized enterprise. It's what you're going to be when you start. Then we're going to look at business success and survival rates. And this is important because if you understand the survival rates and how that success starts to manipulate the thinking and the development that you have, then ultimately you can make your business survive better. Then we're going to look at some of the sectors and locations and understand how different locations can help your business grow faster. Then we'll move on to idea development and commercial success. And finally, we'll look at how we launch businesses, which will then lead you on to the next sessions. So when we think of business, we always think of larger businesses. We always think of Coca-Cola, Tesla. We all think of the big multinational businesses. But actually, the vast majority of businesses are small. So in the UK, 99% of businesses are either small or medium-sized enterprises. Medium-sized enterprises have up to 250 people, where small enterprises have 10 or less. So what we see in the UK is the vast majority of businesses are small or medium-sized. And it's the same for the rest of the world. There's about 400 million businesses in the world which are small or medium size. So they are really the backbone for the global economy. So on an individual country basis, these are the majority of businesses. They are the businesses that create jobs. They're the businesses that you walk past as you walk down the street. They're the businesses that your family members are in. They're the businesses that your community are involved with. So they really are the backbone of the global society. So they are the ones that we need to create, we need to maintain, and we need to make sure are supporting communities around the world. However, not all businesses succeed. Again, I'm using the UK, but this is no different from around the world. We can see business births and business deaths. Births tend to be a little bit higher than deaths, but it's pretty much constant. And as you can see, sometimes it moves closer and sometimes it moves away from each other. And I've used these years because around the COVID years, things all started to change around. So ultimately, look at what businesses people are starting, and that will give you a good idea to understand where the current trends are within your country. And what you can see is survival rates here. So what you can see is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 year survival rates. And ultimately, a lot of businesses do fail in those first 5 years. But the thing is here, they fail because of the reason. They fail because they haven't thought of their business idea very well. They fail because they run out of capital very quickly because they didn't realise how hard it is to get into the marketplace. They fail because the entrepreneur doesn't have the skills and the knowledge to make that a success. And they fail because they don't address the customer need. So those are some core ideas which are very important. And this course really is setting that scene. It's really trying to get you to think about some of those things which are so simple to learn and so important to be able to grow your business. So, not all businesses are growing and dying at the same rate. And this slide is again from the UK, just to give you some snapshot from 2018. But what you can see here, and we'll take the motor trade for instance, the motor trade has a birth rate of 10.2%, but a death rate of 8.3%, which therefore means there are more motor trade companies in the UK than dying. So therefore that's growing. If we look at some others, let's say professional, scientific and technical, that's 11.7% is the birth rate, and the death rate is 11.3%. So that's very close together. So you can see that's not really a booming area. So understanding where businesses are starting and which businesses are dying is an important part to looking whether your idea potentially is going to have success. Next, location. And again, you can see here, these are areas of the UK, and you can see certain birth and death rates are different for each part of the UK. And it's even the same in different parts of a city. So you've got to understand where is the right place to put the business and where is the right place will it grow. And you can always relocate it, but ultimately those locations are important. So the 5-year survival rate in the UK is 42.4%, which means that over 5 years, more businesses are going to fail than survive. However, you've got a 42% chance of your business being a success, and that's a pretty good percentage. So think about how you can get to be part of that 42.4%, and that's why we're doing this. So most ideas don't work. And that's because most ideas don't actually have a consumer in mind. They're just a good idea. So this course is developed so you can come up with an idea, model that idea, and start to understand how you can take that idea to be a successful business. Now, for you to do that, you need to understand the stages in front of you. So if I told you to go from here to the corner shop, you would need to know the route to get to that shop. And it's the same for a business. For me to give you a successful roadmap, I need to tell you the steps that you need to say or do to move forward. So therefore, we've come up with the 9 stages of an entrepreneurial life cycle. Now these stages, the 9 stages in front of you, the first one is discovery and modelling. In this course, we are going to help you quantify your business idea and model that idea. Now, a model is a simplified version of reality. So basically, we are going to help you put together the idea, model it, and so therefore you can articulate that idea to other people and then get them support. And that will help you get into stage 3, which is startup. Startup is about getting the business and finding customers. And one of the things that we'll do with you is to talk about personas and how personas will help you understand the potential customer and help you to identify those customers and move towards them. So the startup phase is quite a difficult phase because it's trying to go out there, access those customers, talk to them and make them spend money with you. Then it gets you into a stage which we call existence. Now existence is you're making money but you're not quite making enough money to carry on, and therefore we need to still drive through to get more and more customers, and then that gives you to survival. In the survival stage, you've got enough customers, you're moving forward, you've got cash coming into the business, and everything could lead to one of the maturity stages. It could lead to success, whatever success is for you. It could lead to adaptation. Sometimes you grow a business, you get it to a certain stage and you realize that there's a ceiling, you realize that this is not the market you thought it was, you realize various things, and you need to adapt the business to either grow further or to pivot into a different market or a different customer base. And finally, there is independence. A lot of people want to run a business which is independent from other things, giving them a lifestyle that's good for them. And then finally, you should always think about exit. Exit is important for two things. One, there could be a good exit. So one day you may develop a business, you may grow it, and you could sell that business for lots of money, and then it allows you to have the lifestyle you want. Or maybe your business is not doing well and you need to exit that business, and you need to do that in the best way possible to make as the least loss or the greatest amount of money possible. And so those two ways of exiting business is important. And I always believe if you start with the exit in mind, then you know the path, the worst case scenario and the path you move forward. So these 9 stages is the steps that you'll need to take. So within this course, what we're doing is we are helping you move through from the discovery phase to the modeling phase to hopefully get yourself ready to start the business. Okay. Now this course is aimed, and you can go through it many times. So ultimately you may have 10 ideas and you might to model all those 10 ideas, and that's fantastic. So when you get to the point where you get the idea that you want to move forward, then you move forward to that startup stage. So if we look at raw ideas and the stages of moving an idea forward, and the example here is 3,000 raw ideas which come into somebody's head. They're not written down, they're just in your head. You might have 3 ideas which you could document and start to articulate, and from that you might have 125 which become little R&D projects. When I say an R&D project, I normally think about you creating something that you can present to a customer, and that customer can then try and use it and see whether that is something they want to purchase. Then from that there might be 9 which you can actually take forward and think, well, those ideas and those customers actually came together very well, and we can see that we can actually grow these very successfully. And as we move down the core line here, you can see we're probably going to launch about 1.7% of those ideas out of the 3,000, and ultimately that would lead to 1 success. So have lots of ideas, try and go out to the customer and make sure the customer engages with those ideas. See whether the customer wants to buy them, and if the customer wants to buy them, then you can understand how that customer need is developed, and then you can go out and launch it. I also wanted you to think about high growth businesses. Now, most of the SMEs we're talking about, they will probably have some form of linear growth, in the sense that you may start a shop, you may employ another person, then you may employ a part-time person, and that then over a couple of years you may employ up to 5 people. And that linear growth is a really stable way of making a business, because in the early stages you're learning what the customer needs, you're learning how the market dynamics, you're learning how to buy and sell things, you are getting the infrastructure in place, and that linear growth is a great way to start a business, learn how to be a good entrepreneur, and learn how to make your business stable. However, if you wanted to have a high growth business, you're probably looking at more of an exponential curve, and that then needs to have a slightly different viewpoint as an entrepreneur. What you need to do then is look into and ensure that you have the scaling aspects of the business put in there. So therefore it's not about sometimes the hiring a part-time person. It might be about hiring 500 people. But that also means that you need to pitch for investment, and you need to work out how you can scale not just your employees but your technology, your business model, move into other countries, and be able to provide your service dynamically across the globe. Now, only 5% of UK businesses are these high growths, so not all businesses are like this. But it's also important for you to realize at this stage whether you're going to go for a linear growth or you're going to go for a high growth. And they're completely different strategies and they are completely different business models. And again, high growth businesses move into certain segments easier than others. So for example, on this slide, you can see finance and insurance. There's an 8% success rate for high growth businesses, but only a 3.4% success rate for properties. So if you want a high growth business in finance and insurance, you're more than twice as likely to become successful than if you had a property business. So therefore, it's also important to understand, if you want a high growth business, are you in the right sector? Now, it doesn't matter whether you want high growth or linear growth, or you just want to stay a 1 or 2 person business. We still need innovation. We still need to think about a unique selling point. We still need to think about how can we provide the best product to our customer and be better than our competition. So we need to push that leading edge. We need to make sure that our business has some what we call USPs, those unique selling points, and we need to be able to convey them to our customers. So we're always thinking about that leading edge. So the rest of this course is about taking you from that hunch into that business plan and moving forward. So what we try and do in the next couple of sessions is take that idea and start to work that idea in what we would call a business model canvas. So we are going to take you through the idea, through the business model canvas, and then into looking at the opportunity that provides. So the next couple of sessions is really about the business model, the idea, and getting that on a piece of paper and making sure that we can articulate it and we start to understand what the model is around it. And then from there, we start to put a little bit more towards the business plan, who we're selling to, why we're selling to, will they buy? And that hopefully moves us forward across this timeline. So we've learned a lot already in this course, but this is the first of 9 different elements of the course. And before we move on to the second element, I just wanted to talk to you about each of those elements and why they're important and how they fit into making sure that you have a very successful business. So the first one today is really setting the scene. And again, it's about you knowing the journey that you're about to take and the reasons why you're about to make that journey. Then next time, we're going to talk about common business models. A business model is a recipe to make money. And if you have that recipe and you understand why one recipe is better than another recipe, then you can make a informed decision to understand how to make money faster, better, more, make something more profitable. So common business models is a way of you understanding the recipes to make money and to start a business. Then we look at business model generation. A business model, using your business idea, comes together in what we call a business model canvas, and it allows you to model your ideas to understand which ones are best and the elements that have to go into that business to make it successful, and more importantly, how to de-risk that business. So business models are a great way for you to start to think about your business and also start to move that business forward through planning. Then we talk about value. Now, value is a really important word in business because when somebody buys a product off you, they will value that product and they will associate a value, normally monetary, to it. And if you have a way of understanding the value of items and the value of services, then you can associate a cost, a price, and a premium price, and you can create those value, and the customer understands the value, and more importantly, they want to buy from you. To get them to buy from you, you need to present to them the product and service. So presentation skills are an important part of taking your idea to the customer and then purchasing it. But to do that, you need to validate the market. A lot of business ideas fail when they first talk to a customer. And if they talk to a customer and the customer has no requirement, they don't see any value in what you're offering, they're never going to buy. So validating the market is one of the most important steps in making sure the product or service that you have is going to be something that your potential customer wants. And to break that market valuation down, we generate personas. And personas are a series of characteristics that a customer has that allows you to identify them. And if you can identify people that would want to buy, then it's far easier to market to them, it's far easier to present to them, and it's far easier to understand the value that that person sees in your product. Then we move on to, once we know the persona, the market, that we know how to present to, we know the value, then we can form a strategy to sell to them. And that starts to bring us in some revenue, and for that we need to understand how cash flow works, because one of the biggest problems that we have in starting a business is cash can be very, very limited at the beginning, and we need to make sure we have a flow of capital, a flow of cash through our business so we can sustain ourselves, to ensure as our customer base grows, we are still got some money to invest in our products and our services and make sure we can build our business so we can move through into the success stages that we want to have. Thank you for taking the time today to listen to this video. On the screen in front of you, you can see the references that I've used in the presentation. My blog and LinkedIn URLs are at the bottom there. Please reach out if you want any support or help. And once you've listened to the video, once you have understood what we've said here, please go on to the other 8 videos and material that we have in this course. And I look forward to hearing back from you how you've started a business and become successful.